In the dark, early hours of a tense night in Gaza, the sound of explosions tore through the silence. Buildings trembled, and the dusty streets lit up in flashes as another strike shook the heart of the city. By morning, news began to spread. The headquarters of the Palestinian Red Crescent Society in Gaza had been hit. This was not an ordinary building. The Palestinian Red Crescent Society, part of the International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement, is one of the few lifelines for civilians trapped in the middle of war. Its headquarters is a hub for aid operations, coordinating ambulances, delivering medical supplies, and organizing relief for families who have lost everything. Now, images showed shattered windows, collapsed walls, and rubble scattered across the street. The Israeli military, the IDF, issued a statement saying it was reviewing claims that it had attacked the aid group's HQ. They did not immediately confirm the strike, saying they were still gathering details. This kind of statement, careful and cautious, often appears in the early hours after controversial incidents. The IDF's position was clear. They needed to investigate before making a final determination. For Gaza's people, though the details didn't matter as much in that moment, they saw a place meant for healing and relief turned into yet another scene of destruction. Aid workers, already struggling under extreme conditions, were left to pick through the debris, searching for documents, medical kits, and anything that could still be used. But this was not the only event making headlines that day. Elsewhere, Hamas, the group that governs Gaza, found itself at the center of another storm. It had released a video showing an Israeli hostage. The footage was disturbing. The hostage appeared frail, thin, and pale. His eyes sunk in, a clear sign of poor treatment and deteriorating health. The video sparked outrage far beyond the borders of Israel and Palestine. International organizations, foreign governments, and human rights groups condemned the move. For many, the image of a visibly emaciated hostage was proof of unacceptable conditions and a violation of international humanitarian norms. Israel accused Hamas of engaging in psychological warfare, using the suffering of a captive to provoke anger and fear. To understand why these events caused such intense reactions, you have to step back and look at the bigger picture. Gaza has been under blockade for years, its borders tightly controlled by Israel and, to some extent, Egypt. The territory is small and densely populated, home to over 2 million people. Every war, every round of fighting, leaves deep scars on its infrastructure and people. The Red Crescent has long been one of the few organizations able to operate relatively freely, providing medical care and emergency aid regardless of political affiliation. Striking its headquarters, whether intentional or not, raises serious concerns under the rules of war. Hospitals, medical facilities, and humanitarian organizations are supposed to be protected, even in conflict zones. If confirmed, this attack could be considered a breach of international law. On the other hand, Israel has often argued that Hamas uses civilian or humanitarian sites as cover for military operations, storing weapons, planning attacks, or hiding fighters in places that are normally off-limits for strikes. The IDF has previously accused Hamas of turning schools, hospitals, and mosques into operational bases. If such claims are proven, they complicate the rules of engagement and blur the line between protected sites and legitimate targets. Still, the optics of hitting an aid group's HQ are devastating. Humanitarian organizations rely on trust to operate in war zones. If that trust is damaged, it becomes harder for them to do their work. Donors may hesitate to send funds. Volunteers may fear for their safety. Civilians may lose access to crucial medical care and aid. Meanwhile, the hostage video released by Hamas deepened the emotional and political stakes. Hostages are one of the most sensitive issues in any conflict. Families of the captives live in unbearable uncertainty, not knowing if their loved ones are alive, healthy, or being treated with dignity. The video's release seemed designed to provoke Israel, possibly to pressure it into prisoner exchanges or ceasefire negotiations. For Israel, the video was unacceptable. Officials condemned Hamas for exploiting human suffering for propaganda. They vowed to hold the group accountable and renewed their commitment to securing the release of all hostages. In the streets of Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and smaller Israeli towns, families and supporters of hostages gathered in protest, holding signs, chanting for action, and demanding the government do whatever it takes to bring their loved ones home. The hostage issue, already a national trauma, now had another haunting image attached to it. Internationally, the response was swift. The United Nations, European Union, and multiple governments issued statements expressing concern about both incidents, the bombing of a humanitarian facility and the treatment of hostages. Aid organizations called for independent investigations. Human rights groups demanded accountability from both sides. Behind the headlines, the people of Gaza were left to pick up the pieces yet again. The Red Crescent staff worked quickly to relocate operations to an alternative site, determined to keep their ambulances running and their medical aid flowing despite the setback. In their eyes, the work could not stop, not when every minute could mean the difference between life and death for someone injured in the fighting. For the families of hostages in Israel, each day without news is agonizing, the video painful. As it was to watch, at least provided proof that their loved one was alive. But it also fueled fears that time was running out in the larger scope of the conflict. Both incidents underscored the human cost of war. Military strategies, political objectives, and territorial disputes often overshadow the day-to-day reality. Ordinary people, aid workers, patients, hostages, and families bear the brunt of the violence. The strike on the aid groups. HQ raised questions about how far combatants are willing to go to achieve their goals, and whether the rules meant to protect civilians can hold up in the chaos of war. The hostage video highlighted the deep mistrust, animosity, and willingness to use human lives as leverage. For now, the IDF's review of the strike will determine whether it accepts responsibility, disputes the claim, or presents evidence of military use of the facility. Hamas, for its part, shows no signs of backing down on its use of hostage videos as a bargaining chip. Both sides remain locked in a cycle of action and reaction, each move fueling the next dot. And as always in this conflict, the people on the ground. Those with no weapons, no say in the military decisions, and no way to escape are the ones left paying the highest price.